Hello and welcome to the Archversity. That's right, there's been a slight change of name, but don't worry, the content stays the same. In today's episode, we'll do a little dive into the wonderfully detailed and surprisingly historic world of Indian comics and how before the Marvel and DC universes were a thing, we had our own homegrown lab of Indian superheroes. So stick around and join me as we dive into the world of Raj Comics and Nagraj. Raja Pocketbooks was based in Delhi and they had made a name for themselves by offering pulp fiction at very affordable prices. They were perhaps the earliest pioneers of making sure that their books could be purchased at bookshops all over India, and very strategically they could also be bought at bookstalls at your railway station and your bus stands. And then with the success of their pocketbooks, they decided to venture into the world of comics. And Raj Comics started out with a unique character called as Nagraj, the most famous Indian comic book superhero. Nagraj Comics came out in the same edition or format as Diamond Comics did. You had these little hand-sized or compact-sized comic digests which would come in with 32 pages of content, of which you'd probably have like 5 to 6 pages of ads, usually of upcoming comics or comics published in the same set. And they were priced very affordably. You could buy comics, and they launched you could buy the comics at like 5 rupees. And later on, once the publishers got success, they started publishing what was called as a visheshaank or special editions, which were double the size, came with 64 pages. And these editions used to cost 15 rupees and later on they became 20 rupees. They also kept adding freebies with the comics to induce readers to come and buy them. So you could buy the comic and you would get a free sticker, maybe a poster, maybe a jigsaw puzzle, or very famously fridge magnets. Although it began as an experiment of sorts in the mid-80s, by the turn of the decade, around the 90s, Raj Comics had become a powerhouse in the Indian comic book industry. Raj Comics was such a craze in the 90s that I remember very clearly. Kids like me would have collections spanning easily hundreds of issues. We would go and visit the nearest bookstalls and we would always pester to see if the latest issues had come from Delhi. In schools, we would talk and discuss the storylines, we would discuss the comic books, and we would swap comics with other kids who had issues that we didn't have and vice versa. And strangely enough, there were also libraries that sprang up all over North India at that time, where you could pay like 1 rupee or 2 rupee for a week, borrow a comic book and return it again. It became a thriving, successful industry. And they were running out of comics. They issued multiple reprints of comics which were very popular, and you could see stalls and stalls of comics set up in all the railway stations and bus stands right up until the end of the 90s. But then by the end of the decade, the demand for the Hindi comic book industry started dwindling rapidly. There were a few reasons ascribed to this. One was the reading patterns or preferences for kids had changed. With the heavy emphasis on English and English education, a lot of parents started encouraging their children to read more and more of English literature and English comic books. So kids switched over to characters like Archie, Asterix and Obelix, Tintin, and slowly with the advent of Cartoon Network, there was a huge interest in the original versions of these Indian comic book characters. So we got exposed to DC and Marvel. We started reading more of Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Captain America, the Justice League, Hulk, and so on. And with the advent of all of these, the Hindi comic book industry started declining. Sales started dwindling, the interest was gone, and the comic publishers themselves missed out on opportunities to launch television series or cartoon spin-offs which could perhaps have given them a new medium to thrive in. And there was an appetite, because we all remember how powerful or how successful the Shaktiman series was for Doordarshan. But then by the mid-2000s, the wind had gone out of the sail. Personally for me, I lost touch with comics for a very long while. But then recently, when I visited the Delhi Book Fair, I was pleasantly surprised to see a stall for Raj Comics. And a healthy crowd was there, but it was very surprising to me to see that the crowd seemed to comprise millennials like me. Most of us were hanging around there for nostalgia value, but I still wanted to show my love and appreciation for the comics that I'd grown up reading. So I purchased a few comics, which I will cover in subsequent videos. So when I was at the Raj Comics stall during the Delhi Book Fair, I was lucky enough to have a conversation with some of the representatives, and I found out that legal entities now which publish these books. First we have Raj Comics by Sanjay Gupta. Sanjay Gupta ji is one of the OG writers and editors for many of these comic books, and he continues to publish new stories with these characters, although they are set in, you could say, possibly alternate dimensions or alternate worlds, so they are a slight modern twist or a spin on the classical characters. The books that he publishes generally tend to have innovative coloring, they have innovative sizes and the quality of printing, etc. But the price is also a bit on the premium side. Then you have Raj Comics by Manoj Gupta and Raj Comics by Manish Gupta. By and large, they do reprints of the older collections and issues. They don't, they don't focus too much on creating new stories, although once in a while one or two storylines do crop up. I was also very surprised to see a couple of editions. So of course, me being the regretful purchaser that I am, I did indulge in a few purchases, and I'll show you what those were, and then we'll do a deep dive into the world of Nagraj. A set of compact or mini comics. First one was this, and this is based on a character called Bhokal. This is called Sampurna Maharavan. This is by far the smallest sized comic that I purchased, quite heavy, but as you can see, printed on glossy paper, and it collects around 9 issues of a sprawling storyline. So one of these days I'll cover the story of Maharavan. Next up is a book called Dhruv Aram. Now this collects the first 25 issues of regular digest for Super Commando Dhruv, the Indian Batman of sorts, and it covers his origin story and the first few cases that he cut his teeth with. And this is, I think you can do a comparison and see that the Dhruv Aram issue is slightly bigger in size than Maharavan. And finally, I got Nag Aram. Now this is a thick book because it collects the first 32 editions of the regular issues of Nagraj, each of which were the 32 page sized editions that I talked about before the visheshaank thrill came in. So very nice. And the good thing about these books is, of course, the quality of printing. Now you have glossy paper, although they are quite small to see. I did notice the colors are a lot richer, but in some of the instances the colors have changed from what I remember them to be. You do spot the odd change of color and the change of shades, etc. But the wonderful thing is that although on the book cover you see a slightly different version, inside you'll find the original covers that these issues came with. So that was really nice. Although there's a bit of hoodwinking going on with one issue in this Nag Aram collection called Nagraj and Shakura, but I'll cover that when I get to that story in one of my future episodes. So, set of 3 compact books, quite heavy surprisingly, but also very easy. They remind me of Jayco pocket books for any of you who used to collect those. You know, all these classics we used to get with sort of illustrated pages once every chapter. I used to love those things, carrying those things for my train journeys, and that's probably where I finished a lot of my Mark Twain stories and Jules Verne, etc. So I bought it for that, but yeah, I do need a magnifying glass, especially for the Maharavan one. Next up is a comic storyline that many readers consider to be Raj Comics' magnum opus, and that's the Nagayan series. A pretty big, solid digest paperback. Not the biggest size. I believe that there is a bigger hardcover which comes out, but quite a chunky book and really nice printing quality. You can see full glossy paper. Although I have the slightly cheaper edition, the one which does not have the gold lettering or the gold gilding on the pages, but I'm pretty happy otherwise. This story is sort of a retelling of the Ramayana, where Nagraj and Dhruv play the roles of Lord Ram and Lord Lakshman respectively, and you have Nag Pasha who plays Ravan's role essentially. So a very long, sprawling book. Would have been difficult for me to keep track, but thankfully it also comes with this nice bookmark, so you can keep that. So Nagayan was the second purchase, or rather the 4th book I purchased in that book fair. Quite a workout, those 2 books. After that, I got my hand on the follow-up or the sequel to the Nagayan series, and this is Mahanagayan. Now, Mahanagayan is, as the name suggests, a retelling in the vein of Mahabharata, but now these characters come back from the Nagayan stories and they carry these forward. This is an ongoing series, it's not completed, so there are 4 issues to this. So I purchased all 4, and so far it's been quite a nice ride. We'll see how it develops. And the final set of books which I got was something called as the Nagarambh, and this is a story of a modern version of Nagraj, if you will, and it carries a lot of ties to his origin stories and possibly hinting at a future storylines which again remind you of the classical stories. So it feels like a reboot of the Nagraj mythos in many ways. So these were all the regretful purchases I made in the World Book Fair and Delhi Book Fair, and I'll be covering them in future videos. But now let's get ready for a deep dive into the world of Nagraj. Nagraj is a character who, kind of like Spider-Man, is heavily influenced by the motif of the snake. Snakes hold a very sacred and special place in Indian mythology. We revere them, we worship them, and we also consider them to be protectors of treasures. 2 of the most famous snakes, or the most sacred snakes in Hindu mythology. First is Sheshnag or Adisesh, the serpent with 1,000 hoods, who is also who forms the bed where Lord Vishnu reclines. And then we also have Vasuki, his brother, who is considered to be the king of serpents, who was very famously used during the churning of the ocean, and also subsequently coiled around Lord Shiva's neck when he consumed the poison halahal to ensure that it would not pass down. Besides that role, there are also a couple of myths surrounding snakes. There are myths that there are certain snakes which bear a gem or a jewel, which we call as a Manidhari snake, which possesses the power to shapeshift. So Raj Comics, more specifically when Mr. Sanjay Gupta started the character or developing the character of Nagraj, delved into all these aspects and incorporated and weaved them in. So Nagraj is a homegrown superhero who started his life as a criminal but then got reformed and then became a sworn enemy of terrorism and crime. He is also a protector of children, and his superpowers include having thousands of micro snakes within his body. He has the power of invincibility and super healing. So, bullets don't affect him, stabs and stabbing him or nicking him with any weapon will not affect him at all. The only thing that can probably stop him is completely chopping off his head. Otherwise, he's pretty much indestructible. He has the ability to alter his shape and form at will. He can become as big or as small as he wants to. He can pass through barriers. He's supposed to have the deadliest venom in the universe inside of him, so no poison can affect him, whereas a bite from him is fatal for everyone, etc. And like Spider-Man, he has the power to eject these micro snakes inside his body and then swing around buildings, like using them as slings or rope, and move from place to place. And he has some very famous special snakes residing within his body who act as his companions, his guardians and assistants, like Naganand, Naganath, and most famously Sodangi, a special snake from Egypt who lives inside his body. And his primary love interest is Visarpi, who is the queen of all shape-shifting snakes. It's a very varied, wild and deep world. So I'll be covering Nagraj's early journey through the Nagarambh series, where we'll go issue by issue. But for this video, I hope you like this little introductory view into the world of Raj Comics and Nagraj. Please share a like and comment if you like this video, or you have any suggestions on how I can improve this channel moving forward. And don't forget to subscribe if you would like to be notified of similar videos in the future. Thank you for watching, and wherever you're watching from, I hope you have a nice day and you stay happy and healthy. Until the next video, take care.